Hello, Dr. Ojo. Good afternoon and happy weekend to you. It's really great to have you join Prof. Dan Tutorials today. And just to give a quick background to our viewers, this is a success indicator section. And we have our guest right here, Dr. Kehinde Ojo, who is going to be sharing our experience on our EB2 employment-based second preference national interest waiver journey. And at the same time, a big applause is that she also filed for the EB1A employment-based first preference category, the exceptional and the extraordinary ability category. So welcome, Dr. Ojo. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this. So it's very easy. We're just going to go through some questions. The goal overall is to encourage someone out there. What people do say, or the misconception, is that it's always like STEM field that is being approved or considered for exceptional ability, the EB2, or the extraordinary ability, the EB1. But here we have you today. Your field, as seen on the screen, is applied economics. And so I believe it's also non-STEM. So it's our hope that you're going to be putting us through one or two things today. So I'm excited and I'm sure the viewers are eager to hear from you. So let's get started with your background and pathways. If you don't mind, can you share your educational background right from bachelor's, whatever pathway, and maybe whatever you're doing presently as well? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And we'll just talk a little bit about my background. And applied economics in some schools or in some areas is considered STEM, while in some is considered non-STEM. But for me, where I did my PhD was considered as STEM. As one of like the STEM major, given that we do like econometrics and statistics related course. But just a little bit background about myself. I did get my bachelor's degree in agricultural and resource economics from Federal University of Technology, Akure in Nigeria. That was in 2016. And I got my master's degree in food and resource economics in University of Florida. That was in 2018. And I did get my PhD in applied economics, but the full course is agriculture and applied economics. So my focus was applied economics in 2022 from University of Georgia. And currently I work as a postdoc in applied economics field as well, with specific research in environmental economics. And that's just a little bit background about myself. I don't know, do you want me to give more information? But that's just the background about myself.
Oh, thank you so much for the introductory background, Dr. Ojo. You seem to have a robust career. That's really great. And I'm sure the pathway of you getting to applied economics is one of the things we're going to be sharing with us today. So, well, that's fine. Let's go to the next part we want to consider, and your proposed endeavor. So I want you to share with our viewers, give an understanding on the EB2 NIW, which requires the petitioner to share their field as substantial merit and is of national importance. So when you did file for your EB2 NIW, can you briefly describe to us your area of proposed endeavor and how you were able to connect that to national importance?
Oh, okay. So given my background that I did my bachelor's, excuse me.
Let's see.
Yeah, so given my background that I did my bachelor's degree in agriculture and applied economics, and as well as my master's in food and resource economics.
You want to take some water?
Yes, can I take some water?
Yeah, please do. Thank you. All right, our viewers, we learning from Dr. Kehinde Ojo, who had his bachelor's in agricultural economics. His focus has probably meant to be in the field of economics, but presently she is into applied economics. Welcome back, Dr. Ojo.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And like I said earlier, my bachelor's degree was in agricultural and resource economics, and my master's as well was in food and resource economics. So my research has always been agricultural field, so applying economics to agriculture. However, during my PhD program, I had to apply the economics to environmental as well as tourism related field. So determining my proposed endeavor was quite challenging for me, given that I have a diverse background when it comes to applied economics field, from agriculture to tourism to environment. And currently, I work as an environmental economics as well in my postdoc. So I had to put everything under the umbrella of applied economics for my proposed endeavor, then specify the specific focus to agriculture, environment to tourism. And the aspect of agriculture I did as well was from the perspective of international development economics. So I put all of my research, past research, my current research, and my interest as well. I put everything under the umbrella of applied economics for my proposed endeavor, with now explaining each categories that I have experience in. And that's what I use for my proposed endeavor, applied economics as well.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So I think one thing I'm beginning to draw from this is that even though you had a diverse subfield into tourism, environmental, food, agriculture, you were still able to carve all of them under the umbrella of applied economics. And I think the challenge has always been people always saying that, oh, my background seems to be disconnected from my master's, from my PhD, or from my research. How am I going to connect all of this together? So in your experience, you think it's still possible to connect? Do you think it's still possible to connect all the different umbrellas, or one should just focus on one specific area?
I would say that it depends on individual cases. So an individual case, in the sense that if you have a substantial uh, material for a particular subfield in your area, you could just do one subfield, which could be environmental economics for me. Or however, if you feel like combining everything together, it will make your application more robust. And for me, I would recommend combining everything together to make the application more robust, such that one is able to include a lot of achievements, a lot of things that one has done. And for me now, it's applied economics. For another person, it could be a different field. You could look for a terminology to use just to bring everything under one specific umbrella. And even in environmental economics field, we have different subfield. So for someone that has been doing a lot of probably environmental economics works, but not in the same field, in different subfield, one can use the umbrella of environmental economics. So for someone out there, I would say that to look for, even if you have diverse background or diverse experience, look for a particular field that one can put it as an umbrella, such that all the subfield can come under it, and it makes one's application more robust.
Wow, thank you so much for this top-notch experience of yours you are sharing. Thank you so much. So, I think we can go to the next one now. Okay, so let's see what we have next. Is asking about summary of your EB2 NIW experience. So, feel free to launch from any parts, but yeah, you did 5 for this EB2 NIW. Maybe if there are fears or worries, or maybe something you feel you did that helped you and can probably help someone out there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So one thing I would say I did for the EB2 NIW, EB2 NIW has a 3-prong requirement. And one of the prong is that your field has substantial merit and national importance. And the second prong is that you are able to advance your field of proposed endeavor And the third prong is that labor certification should waive the requirements for the for labor certification related stuff. I'm so sorry. I don't know you're on top of my head right now. And I would just say that for me, for my EB2 NIW process, one thing I had to first ask myself, since I have diverse experience, what do I want to put for my national importance and substantial merit? And what part of my work do I also want to include such that my proposed endeavor is advancing my field of endeavor? And also the labor certification waiver requirement. So what I did was, my current research is in environmental economics, and it's directly related to climate change, which is one big issue going on currently. And what I did was to put my environmental economics, two of my environmental economic related research as my national importance and substantial merit, such that I was able to explain how climate change is important, and because one of my research is related to energy, how energy, it's important for the US to diversify energy generation such that we achieve like blue-green economy, and it's a path that US is going towards. So given how that will benefit the United States, showing the national importance of that, and as well as my other research area that I also included, which is also under the umbrella of climate change, using urban green spaces to mitigate urban island heat, and so like it has also so many benefits, even mental health benefit. Like urban green spaces has a lot of benefits even for pregnant women. So like ability to put all of those things together, and how it is important for the United States, and the substantial merit of that work as well, my contribution to that field. And the interesting part is, in these two categories, I do not have any publication yet, because these are my ongoing research. And although I have to show like the progress of my work in that field, such that it's a grant-funded project. So even though I do not necessarily have a publication yet, I have like a progress report that I have to submit to the grant funders. And that was one of the things I had to use, like for the substantial merit, my contribution to that area. So even if you do not have a publication, I just want to say that one can also still prove the substantial merit and national importance of one's work, because it's not necessarily tied to publication. And for advancing my proposed endeavor, in the prong requirements, there are several like categories that was identified by USCIS, which includes the educational background and academic qualifications. So that comes to my background that I talked about earlier, and some of the qualifications that I have, expertise, skills, and research experience. Then in my second prong, I now embed all of my research experience. I embedded the agricultural part of my work, international development, the tourism part, the environment, some of my environmental economic work as well. Then I just like had to embed them and put like contribution to international development economics, then wrote everything that I had to contribute. And some of my work that has as well been published and cited. So I also had to include that in my contribution to different subfields that I mentioned earlier. Then I had to write about my progress towards achieving my proposed endeavor, like my ongoing works that I've done, my current manuscripts that I'm planning to submit for publications, and the model for the future activities, the things I plan to do in the future to continue in my field of endeavor. And likewise, I included part of like my membership to professional organization, because it's also one of the like criteria for EB2, but not like important, but it's just one of them to shows the advanced proposed endeavor that one is going to advance. Then my publication, as well as my presentation and some of the awards and grants that I have. Then people that have cited my work, I also had to like highlight those in that category as well. And my peer review conferences, I also had to include them, like even though like, oh, I have had to present my work in so place, so year, and stuff like that. And I also talked about my current postdoctoral research work that I am doing. And that's just like fulfilling the two out of the three prong. And the third prong is just showing that United States will benefit, like it will be beneficial to United States to waive the requirement of job offer and labor certification. And that still comes to writing how my research is beneficial to the United States in a way, and as well as using recommendation letters. Like some of the recommendation letters I got, they actually put that it will be beneficial to the United States to have my talent in the US in my field without like job offer or labor certification. Then I have to like conclude my case by summarizing everything that I did. And that's just like the basic summary of some of the things that I did for my EB2 NIW. I know it's really summary. I'm not necessarily going into details. And I'm not sure. Do you want me to go into details? I think.
Oh no, that's fine. If we to got into details, it's gonna probably take us many hours, which we do not really have. But honestly speaking, you have even done beyond what I personally would have expected from you. You've given us a good breakdown into your EB2 NIW, and I'm sure that someone out there watching you at any point in time will find this encouraging and useful. But just for us to be clear, like how many pages did you have your EB2 NIW on, if you can remember?
I think it's about 30 to 40 pages. I'm not sure. For the EB2 NIW, yeah, I have 32 pages.
Excluding the exhibits.
Yeah, just the petition letter alone is 32 pages.
Okay. And what about the exhibit? Do you have a figure for it?
Oh, for the exhibit, I didn't put pages to them because
Okay.
they are quite a lot. So I had 12 categories of exhibits, and under each categories, I might have like 3 sub bullet point. I might have, for instance, for my original contribution and authorship of scholarly articles, I had about 15 like publications that are probably my current publication, things are published already and things that are yet to be published. I also included my manuscripts, that my ongoing work, like I've already finished writing them, it's just to submit them. And or even some of my like currently ongoing work, I also have to include them as abstracts. So that kind of like increase the number in that category. For exhibit, I don't know exactly the number of pages because it's quite a lot. I included all my all my paper that I've also cited my work, which I also had to include. I don't have so many citations. As at the time I did it, I had only 15. So that was just 15 papers, but I printed all of them. Although some people say, oh, just print the pages that your name was cited, but I printed all of them. So I can't really put number to the pages, but I can say that while shipping my package entirely to the USCIS, it was £11.
Wow, that was a lot.
So it is quite a lot.
Wow. Well, honestly speaking, what I tell people personally is that, see, if you feel that a total of 50 pages explains convincingly what you want to present to USCIS office, then why not? It's okay. If you also feel that you want to include all the things that you don't want to cut short of anything, you want to present your case to the fullest, then there is no limitation to the number of pages. One important thing before we go to the next thing that you've said is that the case of proving your substantial merit and national importance, even though you have different subcategories that you've been working on, you did specify, and I want to call that out, that the exact one you touch on is something, a field that is really of national importance, which is of climate change related. And you did mention that even in that particular field, you do not really have a publication yet, but you have ongoing work. So yeah, that's really good to know. Thank you so much. So I think it's a good summary for your EB2 NIW. And now let's progress to, this is Dr. Ojo, who got an approval for the EB2 NIW. And I will ask myself, why did she proceed to the EB1A again? Well, that might be your own personal reasons, but if you can just put us through, we do know that for the EB1A category, basically, there are certain set of criteria that needs to be fulfilled. It said that it should be like 3 out of the 10 that is listed, or even if you have some other things that could surface. So if you can also put us through which of these criteria did you present, if there is any lesson you want to share with us, and maybe as you summarize, what seems to be different from your EB2 NIW presentation and that of the EB1A.
So for the EB2 NIW, one is required to prove it's a three-pronged approach, and also including like advanced and degree, which is not part of the prong anyway. It's a three-pronged approach for the EB2 NIW. But for EB1A, it's quite different because one is required to meet certain criteria. And out of the 10, the minimum that one is required to meet is 3. Well, however, I did use 6.
Wow.
And I used 6. Then also in the EB1A, they also require the substantial merit and national importance of one's work, and as well as like your future, like how do you plan to continue in your field of proposed endeavor. And I concluded that was what I did specifically for my EB1A. So for the criteria that I used, I also kind of used what I had originally in my EB2 because I just did like a little rearranging and adding some little details in order to present it for EB1A. And for the criteria that I use that my original scholarly contribution of major significance to the field of applied economics with focus in environmental economics, tourism, development economics, and agriculture. So I just put applied economics as well as the umbrella, and I specify each of those, and I explain my contribution to each of those research areas. And likewise, for the second criteria, I use my authorship of scholarly articles in professional or major trade publications. And also, I use the third one that I've judged other people's work. That's the third one I use. And for the fourth one, I use awards. I've gotten award and grant as well. And so the grants, I put it under award, and some of the awards I had as well. For excellency in my field of endeavor, I know that there are a lot of there are a lot of requirements on how to write the awards category, but I focus on for excellency in my field because EB1A, I have to put out there that the first criteria is that one has probably one has sustained national and international acclaim.
Yeah, you're right.
In your field of endeavor, you're among one of the top percentages, and that's why the criteria are required. However, the first thing is if you have received like an international awards, like a Nobel Prize, then you don't need to show any of the criteria. You just met the requirement. For me, I didn't have such type of awards, so I had to go with the criteria for all, like for the 10 criteria, meeting 3 out of the 10 criteria. So, and I used 6, and the number 6 that I use, okay, I'm currently on number 5. The number 5 that I use is about that media, they have published my work in the media. And the last one I use is that I perform a critical role in an organization. And one thing I want to point out is even though in my EB2 NIW, I use membership as part of my exhibit, as part of membership in a professional organization, in my EB1A, I did not use that because the membership in the organization for EB1A criteria require that you have to be member of that professional organization based on your outstanding and requirements in a way, but I didn't meet that because the membership I have does not require outstanding performance of the members. It's just like a regular professional membership, because that's also one thing that people might want to mix together. So you have to be able to prove that the membership requires outstanding requirement, some sort of outstanding requirement to join such organization. So I did not use that. I only used 6. And to just summarize the 6 evidences that I use again, publication that I am my contribution to my field, my scholarly publication, I've judged other people's work, award that I have received, my critical role in my critical role in my organization. And what's the last one? I've talked about award, judge of other people's work. Okay, publication of my work as well. I think that makes the 6.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for pointing out the difference between being a member, holding a member in an association or organization for the EB2 NIW and for the EB1A. Yeah, these are important things that people should take note of. And just to round up, like a form of summary from what you've said, I think one big lesson to draw from is that even though one needs to meet at least 3 out of the 10 written documented criteria by the USCIS, if one has 6, 7, 8, just like you did in your case, one should evidently present them. That would be my own advice to people, because out of the so-called 3 that you are standing or clinging on, you do not necessarily know which of these will pass through. What if what you've presented is not being accepted by the officer? So, in that case, if you have like 6, then even if one doesn't pass through, you are sure that perhaps the other one will pass through. And again, it's all about providing what exactly do they want to see for each of these criteria. There are certain things they want to see. So thank you once again for sharing that. And just a side check, like, so if you are to choose the process of the EB1A and the EB2 NIW, which one seems to be much easier for you?
I would say that the EB2 NIW, because it's exceptional ability, while EB1A is extraordinary ability. For EB2, it's quite easy. It's just to prove the 3 prong from what you have. But for EB1A, you have to pay attention to some nuances, such that even though you have received an award, you cannot just put that I received this award. You have to put the organization that gives the award, like the substantial merit of that award, like what are the criteria they use to choose people for that award. And so it requires some like little like details. But in general, I would say like the EB2 NIW is quite easy to do and quite easy to put together. But once one do the EB2 NIW, one can also transform it to EB1A, because just put those nuances that is required, and it's pretty much in a way quite similar, but not the same. Yeah, but the EB2 is quite easy.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Ojo. So what you've said is that for those that probably have received an EB2 NIW approval, they could think of, proceeding with the EB1A if they feel they meet the nuances of the criteria. So that's a big takeaway for me. And we want to wish you all the best. We appreciate you sincerely for sharing your success story with us. It's our hope that it has encouraged someone out there. Thank you for letting us know that even though economics might be seen by others as non-STEM, it could still be seen as a STEM field. Thank you for explaining all that. But man, you are indeed a scholar. I mean, all your profile, everything you studied is really, really great. And thank you for sharing that. What would be one advice you would give to someone out there that's probably in your field or thinking about your field as well?
Someone I'm thinking about my field, what I would say to anyone would be based on my experience talking with people generally about this EB1 or EB2 NIW, is that people are kind of scared that it's extraordinary ability. I do not necessarily mean the top 1% in my field, but you might have criteria that qualifies you to be among those categories. Analyzing what you have can actually push you out of like the comfort zone of, oh, let me finish my PhD before I do this. Or, oh, when I get more citation before I do this. You can do it even with what you have currently, just evaluate it. How can you present your case? And I believe that if with the help of other people or professional or lawyers, you can put it together and you can get it approved. For me, I did not use a lawyer, and that comes with a lot. So you have to do it. Is it that you pay for the service or you create time to do the service yourself by doing a lot of readings and a lot of getting a lot of information, also reaching out to people that already did it, then getting information from people that would help. So one thing I would say to anyone that's currently considering doing or contemplating, oh, I don't have enough material to do it, I would say that you actually have enough. It's just ability to present your case. It's just ability to know how to put everything together. And if you reach out to professionals, either lawyers or professional writers or people that are professional in these immigration-related issues, you can do it. Don't limit yourself with your current situation. That's what I'll say.
Well, thank you once again, Dr. Ojo. Thank you so much.